What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube. And today I've got another edition of The Drive-In, where I review recently released movies and let you guys know whether they're worth watching, worth waiting for, or worth skipping altogether. Today I'm talking about another 2020 release. Thank you, streaming services. We are getting some horror. Finally, after all the postponements due to COVID, there was a film that came out that was a big surprise sequel that people were suddenly looking forward to, and I am one of those people. The Babysitter, the first Babysitter, came out as a Netflix movie in 2017, and I don't think anyone expected to like it as much as they did. At first, this movie came out and, was just kind of known as this cheesy kind of comedy, directed by a guy that wasn't really all that respected, at least from what I heard online and stuff like that. Had not seen his previous credits. Didn't seem like it was going to be much, but then it kind of got a cult following over the last couple of years. People have really come to enjoy it, and I'm glad because it was in my top 10. Actually, I think it was in my top 6 for the year of 2017. It was a highly rated, fun, easy watch. And if you have not seen that film, I think I have a review of Babysitter, the first one, on my channel from a few years ago, so go back and check that out. I believe I did one, but I also discussed it in my year-end review at the end of 2017, how much I enjoyed it. So big surprise to me and many others in the community when nobody heard a thing about it, and all of a sudden a trailer dropped and it was like, hey, Babysitter 2 is coming out in September and it's already shot and finished and it's coming out in a few weeks. So no one knew what to expect, and the continuity keeps up right with basically right after the first movie, and it has a lot of the same writers, same directors, same actors. Continuity is on point in this, and so we get a chance to review a rare sequel on Netflix, and I'm glad that Netflix has the rights to this because they don't usually have very good horror movies, or at least not the majority of them. So let's talk about Babysitter 2 that just came out. It was directed by Mick G. Yes, you heard that correctly. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Mick G is a director, MC capital G. Directed by Mick G, written by Mick G, Jimmy Warden, Brad Morris, and Dan Lagana, starring Judah Lewis, Samara Weaving, and Jenna Ortega. This movie picks up essentially right where the first one left off, and then jumps ahead by several years after poor Judah Lewis's character has gone through his babysitter. So surprise! And again, if you guys haven't seen the first Babysitter, you're going to want to go back and watch that before you watch this review. But Judah Lewis's character basically gets babysat by this older, cool girl that he kind of has a crush on. They've got this really cool bond and friendship, and she winds up being basically a cultist who brings over her cult of friends for a sacrifice and is stealing this kid's blood to sacrifice to the devil because he's an innocent kid. So the combination of innocent sacrifice plus a child can help this cult sacrifice the blood to the devil and get whatever they want in their lives. So this kid, who's got this great relationship with the babysitter, now finds out that she's a cultist that's been using him to steal his blood. So this picks up after the events of the first one when the babysitter and all of her cult friends have been killed, and now we pick up, I think, a few years later. So what I will do is review this movie as best I can without any spoilers at all, just kind of vaguely talking about the talking points of this film without spoiling anything, and then I will give my spoilers at the end of the review. I'll give you guys time to turn this off because it is a brand new movie and it's on Netflix right now. So non-spoilers first. Overall, I really enjoyed, again, they find a nice way to mix horror and comedy. Horror comedies, to me, if you've watched my channel, you know that I'm very particular about how they treat horror comedies. I don't like most of them. The first movie especially, but also this one to a bit of a lesser extent, do a nice job of blending the horror and comedy. They kind of keep the horror aspects serious with the main characters, and they use a lot of the comedy on the background characters. So a lot of the stooges and stuff are doing the really funny over-the-top stuff that make you laugh, and the main characters kind of keep the plot line going in a more serious way. This wasn't as balanced as the first movie. To be able to take a very outlandish, crazy circumstance and treat it seriously, but then also kind of give it jokes while you're dealing with the peril is the way you do a good horror comedy, in my writing opinion. This one was done well, just not written quite as sharply as the first, in my opinion. To those of you guys that have seen the trailer, this is not a spoiler. It's in the trailer, so it's kind of known. It's also in the credits. But a lot of the characters come back from the first movie. All the background characters that died in the first one come back as ghosts in this movie, and Samara Weaving is back in this movie as well. which I was waiting for a while in this movie. She's not in the whole movie. She comes back later on. Really enjoy her. So again, although this is not as sharply written as the first one, the lines of dialogue are pretty solid, and the characters they use for comedy do a great job. I have to give credit to like Robbie Amell, who's the shirtless guy, and the YouTube comic, who's the black guy, who's making all the Jordan Peele jokes, and Bella Thorne, who does the whole like shot in the boob thing, which they call back to in this film. I like the background characters. They're well cast in this. They're over the top and silly, but they're meant to be silly, so it adds levity to this crazy situation. Really enjoyed that. Also, the atmosphere in this film. Judah Lewis's character and his best friend from the first film that went through the whole babysitter situation go out. Basically, his the main character, Judah Lewis, I forget the character's name, but Judah Lewis's parents think he's crazy, and he made up the entire babysitter thing because they never found her body or anyone's body. So they think that he is crazy. So they're trying to get him to go to see a specialist. And the best friend who lived through it with him are like, no, just come with us. Come to a party with me and my friends. We'll go out to this cabin in the woods or whatever for this big party over the kind of spring break type deal. So they take these characters and seclude them on this big beautiful island, which looks nice on camera and also provides a cabin in the woods type feel. So the characters are kind of trapped a little bit. So again, you always hear me talk about building tension and trapping your characters in a cool, isolated, beautiful atmosphere. And this film did that very well. I also loved a lot of the callbacks to this film. We had, again, I love continuity in horror sequels. You'll hear me say it 1,000 times. I love when sequels show love and show detail to story in the original, providing the audience with a reward for watching the first movie. If a second movie comes along and retcons the first one and treats it like it didn't exist, you feel like you're being treated like you're stupid, like you didn't watch the first movie. So I like all the references here. They talk about Robbie Amell's character being shirtless again, and they call back to him being shirtless in the previous movie. They have Bella Thorne get shot in the boob again, so they have another callback to that, and her kind of vainness and wanting to be a journalist. I forget the black guy's character talk about how he died earlier in the last one and maybe survives longer in this one, stuff like that. They reference a lot of classic horror films, so that gives love to genre fans. All the background characters are well developed, and throughout this movie, they go back and they show little snippets, little small, fast snippets of how the original background characters came to find Samara Weaving in this movie and why she recruited them and how they got into being part of this cult in the first place. So they go back and not only do they keep continuity, but they further the characters by explaining where they came from and why they have motivation to join this cult. I love that. It is so well done. The characters are fleshed out super well, and I can't talk about any of the other big twists without spoiling it, but I really enjoyed that. Also, there's a wraparound in this film. I can't discuss too much of that without spoiling something major in this film, but a couple of the characters come full circle. Some of the characters that were involved in the first one, that you were disappointed by some of their choices, come around to make different choices in this film. So you see personal growth from the characters. You see the main character, Judah Lewis, who's an excellent actor who builds on his first kind of shy, awkward, nerdy character, doing that more this time, but being more experienced in how to deal with these cults in this second film, so there's progression. You see the best friend character. She has a progression in this film. Samara Weaving's character has a big progression in this film. I can't talk about some of these things, but you see these characters grow and make different choices in this one than you saw in the first one. I really enjoy that. Also, overall, again, I've talked about a lot of the actors. The actor that shines the most for me in this film out of all of them, and I love the actors in this film, and I love Samara Weaving. She is a horror crush of mine. But Jenna Ortega, who plays kind of the new bad girl that comes to this school as like a loner, who kind of befriends Judah Lewis. Jenna Ortega, if you guys don't know who that is, she was the little sister in You Season 2. Really emotional, really powerful character. Also is going to be in Scream 5. Looking forward to seeing her in Scream 5. She was just added to the cast. Jenna Ortega is a budding actress. She gets better and better and better. She's strong in this film. She is your hardcore kind of funny, but also really snarky, sarcastic loner that bonds with some characters. Has a lot of growth in this film as well. Good family backstory, good reason for being where she is. And you see her grow and mature in this film and overcome some traumas and tragedies in her life. So good detail to character, good ambiance, good continuity, good comedy, good horror. Maybe the tone can improve a little bit. This film is not nearly as tight or as sharply written as the first one, but all in all, spoiler free, I'm going to give this film, let's call it a 7.5 out of 10. You know what? I think I called the first one like an 8 or a 7.5, so I'm going to call this one a 7 out of 10. Still really good, just not as tight as the first one. It's like an hour and 45. Maybe they could have tightened it up by like 5 or 7 minutes and also kind of made it a little more horror-centric. But all in all, again, 7 out of 10, very solid. If you love the first one, you'll still like this one very much. Go check it out. Go watch both films. If you have ignored the first film for thinking it was going to be dumb, go back and watch it. I think if you like horror comedies, I think you'll like it. So I'm proud of this film overall, 7 out of 10. Now I'm going to get to the spoilers real quick. So those of you guys that have not yet seen Babysitter 2, go back, watch it, and come back and watch the spoiler part of this review. Those of you guys that have watched it, here come the spoilers. The best friend character in the first movie is now the new leader of the cult. They have a new cult to make way for the old cult. The best friend character now decided that she is going to be. She grew up watching the babysitter in that cult. What happened in the first movie? She comes in now, and she's the new Samara Weaving character, where she joins the cult and has her friends join as well. So, and also because it is this certain time. I'm not sure if it's like a full moon or just, I think it's a certain day. It's an anniversary or something where the old characters are brought back to life up until sunup. So the old background characters have another 6 hours or whatever to try and capture Judah Lewis and come back and get their dreams before they're put back to death again. They're kind of in the afterworld. So the old characters come back to life for 6 hours. While the new characters also try and catch Judah Lewis and get the innocent blood from him to get their cult wishes. I was disappointed because once again Judah Lewis has a best friend character that he loves and puts his faith in who turns their back on him. But by the same token, Jenna Ortega comes in and fills in as the new love interest who, spoiler alert, has sex with him and makes his blood not pure. So when they go to take his blood finally and capture him, his blood is no longer pure, so they all die again. Great growth and twist. Good new character, good twist for Judah Lewis. And Samara Weaving is the good character that saves their lives because not only did she come back and set up this whole island thing to kill off all the cult characters and save Judah Lewis, but she used to babysit Jenna Ortega's character before Judah Lewis. So Jenna Ortega's character, her parents died in a car crash when she was being watched by a babysitter. And we find out later the babysitter was Samara Weaving's character. So Samara Weaving, knowing how strong and amazing Jenna Ortega's character was, knew that if she set up this whole island thing, that Jenna Ortega and Judah Lewis would meet and fall in love and would taint Judah Lewis's blood. So yeah, it is a little contrived and there are a lot of dots to connect, but Samara Weaving winds up feeling bad after Judah Lewis in the first one confesses his love for her and how much he cared about her. That changed her and softened her and made her realize she made a mistake by joining the cult in the first place. So she comes back to set up this whole ritual to kill off both cults and save her two old children she used to babysit, who she's now made fall in love. So again, there are some leaps in logic. There are a lot of coincidences and a lot of things. But Jenna Ortega's character is great. Judah Lewis gets a big step in falling in love with someone who actually sticks with him and having sex with her. And Samara Weaving now gets to redeem herself for being such a cool character that turned bad in the first one. She now realizes the love of this little boy that saved her and now comes back to save their lives because she cares about them. So now we see the full growth of Samara Weaving's character. So yeah, maybe it's not the most tightly written. Maybe it is a little illogical. But if you just have fun with it and watch it for what it is, you appreciate all the wraparounds and all the growth of these characters in the film. So again, 7 out of 10. What did you guys think? Did you like all those contrivities? Did you like all the extra characters? Did you like the old ones coming back to blend with the new ones? Who stood out to you? Tell me all these things in the comments below. And October's coming up. What do you guys want to see me review as a major horror staple on this channel in October? I want to do a lot of reviews for you guys. Tell me in the comments what you want to see. That's been it for today's drive-in, guys. Stay scared, enjoy these movies, and I will see you soon.